All right. So thank you for joining us for the financial report training this evening. So this training is for any troop or group or service unit needing a little help and maybe a refresh of how to do their financial report. So by the end of tonight's training, you will know how to complete and submit the report. As you know, we ask all troops, groups, and service units to do this every year, and that time is coming. That time is June, and I'll go over that time frame also here. So let's go ahead and get started. So before I get started on the core of the training, I wanted to remind us all that we have these two resources available. They are refreshed every year. So all the information that you are hearing from me today comes from, a large part of it comes from our volunteer policy manual and volunteer essentials, which is from GSUSA, and the volunteer policy manual is council specific. So when in doubt, feel free to reference those two documents. They are available to you anytime on our website under the forms section. All right. I also want to remind us all that at the core of this training, it is about financial reports and financial management, but at the core of it is really two things, and that's transparency and communication. So you'll see how those two are very, very important from the very beginning. So you should be communicating with your troop and your parents about your financials and being very transparent with that. And when both of these are done, then everything tends to go smoother when it comes to financial literacy and awareness for the whole troop, including parents. So please keep that in mind. When we talk about sound financial management, what we're really talking about is what we have in our volunteer policy manual, which basically states that the funds of a troop are solely for the benefit of girls in that troop with their input. So that's really important to keep in mind as we move forward, because we are here for the girls. Also important to remind us all when it comes to sound financial management is that the personal use of any troop funds at any time is illegal. So personal funds and troop funds should never be commingled either. So that's very important to keep in mind. Remember that it is all about the girls. So yes, we're going to talk about the financial end of year report. I hope that throughout the year and even into the summer, you continue to talk to your girls about their troop money, create that awareness, get them to decide on how, or have some control over how they spend their troop money, and involve them in the process of the end of year troop report too. I mean, some girls like numbers and like the accounting part of it. Some girls like the paperwork part of it. So it's important to also get them involved in this process at whatever level is appropriate for them. When it comes to reporting, here are the facts. So all of our service units, troops, and groups for the Girl Scouts of the Desert Southwest Council must submit a year-end financial report by the 4th Thursday in June, or as soon as possible if your troop leaders change. So if your troop changes leadership, then that needs to be turned in earlier. That date is set in our volunteer policy manual. Failure to submit this report will result in an audit and possible release from your volunteer position. It is very important. When we talk about the financial report, we're really talking about 4 things. So these 4 things that you see on your screen make up the report, all of these, what you will submit to us. You'll submit the actual report or summary. You'll submit the ledger, which is more of an itemized account of all your expenses and income. You'll submit all 12 bank statements and all copies of all your receipts. So I'm going to go through these one by one. Keep in mind that you as the troop leader or service unit leadership must keep copies and retain those copies for 3 years. So we trust you as the leadership of your troops and service units to turn those into us, but also keep those copies for yourself for 3 years. And the reason is we may have to go back to them, and at that point we can reach out to you for that. So I want to pause and see if there's any questions so far. If you guys do have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can chat them into the box. If not, I'll keep going. We have a lot more to cover. I want to show you all the screens and more detail about all of these documents that are necessary for your financial report. All right, I will keep going. So what I want to talk next in this training, we talked about the basics, the facts. I want to talk about how you're going to submit your financial report. So we now have a tool called the Volunteer Toolkit. That's the tool that you can use to schedule your meetings for your troops. You can email your parents. You can do all sorts of things. One of the things you can do is submit your year-end financial report. So we are going to require that you do it this way. Keep in mind, when you're using the Volunteer Toolkit, we recommend and highly encourage that you use Google Chrome. We cannot guarantee that you'll get the same experience with any other internet browser. So please use Google Chrome. You can download it, it's free, and then use the Volunteer Toolkit from there. All right, so once in Google Chrome, I'm going to go to our website, right? Our council website, gsdsw.org. I'm going to select My GS, so you have this here. Once you select that, you're actually going to see 3 options here. These are older screenshots, but they're still very similar to what you'll see now. So the one you're going to click on is Volunteer Toolkit. If for some reason you don't see that or you can't access My GS, please email us at info@gsdsw.org so we can help you with that. So My GS will be available to any, for Volunteer Toolkit to any of our volunteers, and so then you'll be able to access it this way. Once you log into Volunteer Toolkit successfully, you'll have these tabs at the top, right? And there'll be more. This is an older screenshot, like I mentioned. The one that we're going to talk about today is the Finances tab. That's it. So you're going to click on this tab. It is activated for our council now. And then you're going to actually see some links here that vary from what this picture shows. You're going to see a hyperlink to some documents that we're going to talk about later. You're also going to see updates that are automatically saved but not submitted. So this screen that you see here is what you may hear me refer to as a summary or your report, right? So it's one page, it's just a report or a summary. So it's going to automatically save this for you as you enter, but you're not submitting anything yet. If you need more detail, you can always click on anything that's hyperlinked. So here, in this example, you see monthly troop dues, cookie income, parent donations. That's where you would enter the amounts. Our council report is going to look slightly different in these categories, and I will show that to you at the end if time permits. Anything that's green is a hyperlink, remember that. So you can click on it. You also have the option to add notes for us. So here, you can click on that, and you'll be able to enter notes. You can also locate the hyperlinks here that I mentioned earlier. So ours will look different. You have about 3 or 4 hyperlinks on our council version, and those are links to your ledger and your summary, and I will show those to you like I mentioned here at the end. So let's keep moving forward. So I'm in the income section here that you see. So you can enter in your troops' annual income in the provided category. You can check for council details here again. Anything in green is a hyperlink. And you'll also have it tell you when it will last updated and saved. Remember, it's saving it as you're entering it, but it's not submitting anything. So here, if you were to click on this hyperlink for the income section, once you're done, it would look like this. So open up a Dropbox. You'll be able to enter any notes that you would like us to read. I'm going to go back to the previous screen and also remind you, please don't enter any special characters such as commas. You see here are just straight numbers. So now I am in the expenses section of the financial report. Same concept, you enter your money amounts, no special characters. Anything in green is a hyperlink. This is where you enter your expenses that you and your troop made for the year. You'll have the same option to enter a note after the expense section. It looks similar, just like this. So again, you can go in any time of the year. You can go in now if you haven't done it and start entering this. It's going to save it for you, your troop, but it's not going to submit it yet. So now I am in the financial summary section. So it's still one long page. We're at the financial summary section. So this is where you would enter your starting balance, your overall income. It would give you your overall income and your overall expenses based on what you submitted before in those sections. You'll also have a review of your financial summary that you can look at here. You'll have some notes possibly from us or any further instructions about the ending balance. And you'll see what our council specific report looks like here when I log into it. You can see here you'll have a note that's telling you it has not been submitted to council yet. This is for your record keeping so far. This is what it looks like when you enter a note for our council, very similar to the other sections. This is your bank information. So you're going to have a section where it's going to tell you that your report is due by a certain date. This is the correct date for our council for this year, 2020. The fourth Thursday in June happens to be June 25th. So that's when we expect your financial report. You would need to submit your bank account information here. And you would also submit your signers on the checking account. I'm going to leave it up just a little longer. Bank information, signers. You can add signers. And you can add another bank account if you needed to. All right. And this is what that looks like as well. You can remove signers and you can remove bank accounts as well. You would select checking or savings. Then there will be a section at the end called Council Notes and Questions to Troops. So here is where you would let us know or answer some questions that we have. For example, will you return as a Girl Scout troop for the next membership year? Will you merge with another troop? Will you disband? Not sure, so on and so forth. These are just questions that we want to take the opportunity to ask since it is the end of the year or school year, I should say, for most troops. Not to say that your troop isn't active and participating in Girl Scouts all year, which is really what we want to see, right? Keeping the girls engaged over the summer. You would enter your service unit name here. You would answer further questions that you'll see. So we'll have a couple of questions for our council, and you can add some notes. So very similar concept. Once you're finished with all of those sections, your income, your expenses, your bank information, your summary, the questions, that's all on one form. Once in VTK, you're still in VTK. Once you do all that, you'll be able to preview your report before you submit it to council. And you can notice here, it's going to give you the date that it was last updated. So you would click preview, that green button. It'll give you a preview of what you entered. You can edit it until you're ready and satisfied with what you have on there. This is what the preview would look like. Very simple. Here's the rest of that page. This is the preview. So once you preview it and you're satisfied, this is the preview of the bank information. This is the preview of the questions. Once you preview it and you're satisfied with what you've entered, then you're going to click Send to Council. So here you would click the green button. You'll see a lot of alerts basically indicating to you to make sure that this is the correct information you want to send, because there is no way to reverse it. Once you click this button to send to council, you cannot make any more changes. So that's why you'll see those alerts. Once you do that and you click submit, then you're going to get an option to attach additional documents. So you can attach one file with the size of up to 25 megabytes. I'm going to talk more about this later. So you can choose to not submit or submit. And I'll be very clear, for our council, Girl Scouts of the Desert Southwest, you must submit that additional document, which would include your ledger, your receipts, and your bank statements. I'll go over those here in a bit. When you attach a document, it's going to work very similar to any other applications. You're going to look for the file on your computer and you select the one that you want. It's going to review it for you. Oh, and you can actually do different files. So all these files can add up to 25 megabytes. Once you're good on the files that you would like to send, and you know those are the correct ones, then you'll click the Submit Now button. Then you get a confirmation that it was submitted. So you receive a pop-up confirmation, and when you hit OK, it'll take you back to the VTK. Something new this year is you will also get a copy of the report you submitted. So if you submitted your financial report through VTK last year, that was not the case. Now you will get a copy of everything that you sent to us, as long as your email server will accept files of that size, so to speak. And then you get a thank you message. And that's it. That's how you do it in the volunteer toolkit. So I hope that helped. Go through the motions. I know it's a lot of screenshots, but I just wanted to kind of show you what that looks like. You'll get a little review, a little message here. No more changes are possible. You'd have to let us know of any changes through email, but please make sure that when you submit it in the VTK, it is final and complete. You'll receive a copy of what you submit. These are the 4 things that you're basically sending us in your financial reporting. So the very first one is your report. Now, I wanted to clarify something. So this report here is the annual Troop Group Service Unit financial report. So all of this is what you will enter in the volunteer toolkit report for our council. So if you go to the volunteer toolkit for your troop right now, you're going to see all of this. It's exactly the same. This is just a paper format. So what some troops like to do is keep track of this or write this out on paper and then transfer it into volunteer toolkit. You can also send us this in your upload as one of the files. That's perfectly fine. You have the ledger that you'll submit to us. That's your itemization of income and expenses for your troop for the whole year. You'll attach receipts. And I want to be really clear, the receipts have to be legible. They must be legible. We must be able to read them. Bank statements, same thing. You would submit every single bank statement every month that your troop was in existence for that year. So if you were here the whole year, it would be 12 months. And I want to show you where you can find these documents. So everything's on our website, right? So you can go to www.gsdsw.org. You click on the forms section. There's 2 ways you can get to it. You can search for financial report here, or you can click on options and the money management category. Either way, you'll get to the same section. and you will select Annual Troop Group Financial Report, the PDF. It looks like this. Again, it's the same as what you're submitting to us in the volunteer toolkit. They should match. This is the top part of it. This is the income section, and I'm showing you these in more detail so that you know what you're going to enter in the volunteer toolkit. It's exactly the same. This is your expenses section. You'll registration or memberships, any money spent on take action projects, any money received in product program sales, any money spent on activity, events, camping, troop administration, so things like copies of flyers, folders, supplies of that nature, and then other. That makes up your expenses for the troop. Keep in mind that as adults, as volunteers, we hope that you avoid paying out of pocket for your troop items. We'd like for your troop and expect that your troop sustain itself year after year. Legitimate expenses should be reimbursed and documented. So for example, if you are a new troop and you had spent $20 on supplies for your troop meeting, but you didn't have your bank account set up yet, you could be reimbursed those funds as long as you have the receipt and you hold on to that. And then once you have your bank account, that transaction can be made. So that's what we mean by legitimate expenses. Here is what your report would look like and match up. You have your income section, that's your total income. Your expense section, how much you spent. So you would take total income minus expenses. That's your balance, right? Very big overview, simplified overview. And then if your balance is a big amount, and that's kind of subjective because it depends on how many girls and number of your troop, but any amount in here that you consider to be, or that we consider to be big, is what we call a balance carryover. And so we will ask you, one of the questions will be, what plans does your troop have to spend that money? And we want to kind of know what's going on with that. It could be that your troop is saving up for a big trip in a couple years, and that's fine. We just want to know why you have that balance carryover. So that's important to explain. Then you'll have section for signatures in your report, the paper. You don't have this in your volunteer toolkit. You have this in the paper format. So ideally, when you do it on paper, we would like to have a person that holds the checkbook sign. Maybe that's the troop leader. The person that receives the bank statements, which would be, for example, your co-leader. And then maybe another person that holds a credit card, which would be your event coordinator for the troop. So as an example, those three could be authorized signers for the troop. I want to pause real quick and see if you have any questions for me. All right. I don't see any questions coming through, so I will keep going. All right. So you would find the ledger in the same place that we discussed earlier. Go to our website, go to forms, search for it, or go to the money management category. You would look for Troop Group Financial Record Ledger. Anything in green is a hyperlink. This is what it looks like. So this is the one that is the full detail. It's fillable. So you can fill in all this information. Now, this you do not enter in volunteer toolkit. So this document, you have to keep track of yourself, whether you type that in or legibly write it, it's up to you. But you would type or enter all of this information every month, every transaction, and it should balance out at the end. Once you have this ledger, that'll be one of the documents that you upload in the volunteer toolkit. So it looks something like this as an example. You would have your county, your service unit, your troop or group. The difference between a troop or group is technically a troop is girls of the same level. So all brownies, for example. Whereas a group would be girls of different levels, some multi-level troop, for example. You would put the membership year. You would put the number of pages that are in your ledger. You can add as many pages as you need. And then here are some examples of income coming in, expenses, and then the balance that tallies up. It's a crisscross effect also. So 100 minus 15 is 85. So the crisscross. Now, we provide this as a convenience, hopefully, for all of our volunteers. If you have another more robust, more detailed ledger, by all means, use that as long as it's giving us the same information. In this form, we also ask for your bank institution, mailing address, all this information that, as you remember, we collect in the volunteer toolkit as well. Here are your bank statements. So we went over the report, we went over the ledger. This is an example of what your bank statements would look like. You would get those every month from your bank, and we would ask for those to be uploaded as part of your financial report. Your receipts are also required for every single transaction. The more notes you have detailed on it, the better overall for us when reviewing it. It's much better to also put the notes when it's happening. So if I went to Dollar Tree to buy all these candy canes because we're having a Christmas or a holiday celebration with the troop, then I would like to put a note here right then and there so I remember what it was for. These are good receipts because you can see they're very legible. You can see that I can see the date, the location, the items purchased, the total. Those are all key indicators of a good receipt. If these are blurry or we can't read the date, the time, the amount, the name of the business, then that's not a good receipt. So here are examples of not good. They're pretty clear, but you can see here it doesn't tell us what store it is, right? There's no store names on some of these, so that would not be a good example. So no store names, receipts are overlapping, so we can't really see all the details. And the items, some of the items that were purchased are cut out. There's no date of the purchase. So all of these are not good receipts, and especially if it's not legible, then that's not a good receipt. These are the good receipts, right? So you can see all the details, all the items purchased, the total, the store name. So again, just to recap, we're going to ask for these 4 things as part of your financial report at the end of the year. I want to briefly, before I show you our council volunteer toolkit report, I want to kind of go over tools of technology for you. So I cannot recommend that you take advantage of any one app or technology tool for tracking receipts or scanning on your mobile device. That's for you to look into and research and see what works best for you. But there are a lot of troops that will use some of these tools to make it easier. So for example, there are tools designed to track receipts to make that easier for your troop. So these are some of the examples, and I only listed examples that were free, but there's tons more. There's some for Apple, some for Android. It just depends on what you're looking for, what you're willing to pay, if at all, and what you want out of it. So please do the research and find that out, but it does make it a lot easier to hold on to the receipts in a legible way and track them. There's also tools that you can use for mobile scanning. So mobile scanning is where you can use your phone and you can take pictures of your documents, and then it saves it as a PDF. So those are also really good tools. Again, these are only examples. There's a lot more, and these are just the free ones. There's a lot more. Please do your research, ask your fellow troop leaders, see what works for them, what best practices they can share, but they are available. So please, technology is here to make us work smarter, not harder, right? Okay, so I want to pause before I show you everything on our website. If there is any questions that you have at this time on anything I've gone over so far.
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
I have some receipts that when the store gave me them, they're not legible. Like they didn't print like the whole thing. Like it's like blurry already.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's a good point, Celia. So when we leave the store or the vendor, we want to make sure that it's clear, or if not, ask them for another copy. So you have some options. If it was a long time ago, it'll be more difficult, but if it's pretty recent, sometimes they will give you copies of the receipt. Every store is different. Some stores I've had to go into and they have to look it up and they'll send it to me. Some stores will have me go to their website and request it. Some stores won't do it at all. If you use your debit or credit card, like for example, Bank of America, they have helped me get copies of receipts as well. So those are all options. And if you remember what it was for and can write that out yourself, then definitely do that for sure. Good question. Any other questions or anything that you have to share? How you do your financials maybe, or what's worked for you? Okay, so I will go ahead and get out of my PowerPoint, and I would like to end by showing you our website, or what it really looks like in Volunteer Toolkit. Keep in mind any questions that you have on your financial reports, you can always contact us at info@gsdsw.org. That is actually where your financial reports will go to. And you'll get a copy, of course. So here is my browser. So I'm going to open it up in Google. I am going to go to my website for my council. We'll see how fast my internet is. And I'm going to click on My GS. And I have 3 options. I'm going to click on Volunteer Toolkit. And so here at the top, you see all of these tabs. So this tab, you don't see necessarily as a leader, so that's behind the scenes. So it's this one. But you do see My Troop Explore, Your Plan, Meeting Plan, Resources, and Finances. So I'm going to click on Finances. And anytime you see the 3 dots, it's just loading. And so this is what our report will look like. Not that part right here, this part. This is what it'll look like. This is the volunteer view. So you'll see the title, the year. It'll have your troop number. Here you'll have some links to reports. Make it easier so that you don't have to go all the way to the website again. Here is the income section. So this is what you will actually fill out. Membership fees, fall product deposits, cookie program deposits. If your troop collected any dues, you would enter that here. Not all troops do, but if you do, we do tell you to keep track of that and give receipts, as well as tell the parents what that money collected in dues will be spent on. So if maybe your troop decides to recycle aluminum to learn and make a couple of dollars, so that would be an other category. If your troop has other money from other fundraisers, Keep in mind and remember that those need to be approved first by council before being conducted. And or if you receive a donation from another entity, organization, person, that would be an other category. And we ask that you let us know of that donation also, so we can make sure and thank them and record it appropriately. All of that together would give you your total income. Here is where you can enter a note. So let's say your total income was, I don't know, lots and lots and lots of money, right? More than you expected, something that would surprise us. Then you may want to put a little note in here as to why that is. Or maybe your income has another detail that you want to inform us of. Then you have the expenses section here. So you have membership fees. So the membership fees, if your troop pays for the girls' membership, which is perfectly okay to do, but not all troops do that. That's up to you. Take action projects. So let's say they did a clean your park day. So you had to buy trash bags and gloves, sanitizer, all of that stuff would be part of what you know, expenses necessary for the take action project. You would put in the amount of the fall product ACH, the cookie product ACH total, anything that you spend on books like journeys, activities, programs, badges, things like that. Uniforms, insignia that goes on the uniforms is its own category. Administration. So if you spent money like on copies or paper or meeting supplies, that would be under troop administration. Adult learning. So if you went to any trainings, let's say you went to the first aid and CPR training and you used troop funds to pay for that, you could put that in here. That'll calculate. And then you have other expenses. That's your total expenses. You have a place to put in notes. That gives you your summary. It'll calculate it all for you. And then here you can put a note for us. So here's where you would put a note. So if your balance was pretty large, right, for your troop, then please include a note as to why that is. Like what do you plan to do with that money? Are you saving it for something? So that's what we're looking for. Parents will be able to see the income, expenses, and financial summary if they go into VTK. They won't see your notes or anything below right here. They won't see your bank information, for example, but you do have to enter it. You also have a section for council notes and questions. This is where we ask you what your plans are for the next membership year. Name of your service unit. For number, if you had one for your service unit, we do not. Council note for all troops. So here is where we ask you some questions, and these are required, as you can see. So the first one is, what are your two plans to spend the balance left? If there is no balance, what activities do you have planned? If your troop is merging or you're unsure about not returning, please let us know why. How would you rate your overall experience so far? This is where you can share. And then if your troop is returning, let us know if there's any updates, like if you're changing meeting location, number of girls, so on and so forth. So once you answer all of that and enter that in, you'll be able to click here, submit. This will say submit for you. You're seeing the behind the scenes because that's the only thing I have access to. But you'll see a submit, a preview and submit button. That's when you can see your preview, and then you can submit it, and then add the attachments to it, and submit, and then you get a copy of it. So that's pretty much it. I hope that helps kind of go through it all. I know it's a lot of detail, and I know it's not the most exciting thing, but does that help? Do you have any questions at all on any of this?
So this year, the reports have to be entered in the VTK.
Yes, ma'am. So last couple years were pilot years. We do ask that you submit it in the volunteer toolkit. Now, as anything else, if there's an extenuating circumstance, right? If you're not able to, you have tech problems, somebody doesn't have access to the internet, or whatever the case is, we will work with you, but we do
Okay.
ask that you submit it in the volunteer toolkit.
Okay. Awesome.
Good question. Anything else? Did it help a little bit? Go through it all? All right, so if you don't have any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and end the training because I am recording it. So that way I can cut it and have it be as short as possible. Feel free and reach us anytime at info@gsdsw.org if you have any questions at all. So thank you again for joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.